right, thank you so much, Faith Matole, for those lovely countdowns. This is Monday, and of course, definitely, we are shaping it in the best way possible, the Social and Health Hour. Remember, this is not the big conversation. Standing in for Simbalaji Charles Kiagel, coming later on Wednesday for the same conversation on the big conversation. If you're joining us for the first time, it is so happy to see you. I believe on Friday, Ulipanda meeting. Of course, you went back to your roots. Now you visited different schools. Of course, maybe your school and you did plant trees in the best way possible, even as the government re-strategized to make sure that by the year 2032, we re-strategize in tree planting, and of course 15 billion trees will be planted in the year 2032. Of course, the government also re-strategized to make sure that every citizen in every particular area, starting from the young people in schools and also the adults, are in a position to get this experience in tree planting. Now remember, on the 10th of October, Kenya celebrated Mazingira Day, a national moment to reflect on their relationship with the environment and renew their commitment to sustainable living. We've been talking about tree planting for quite some time, and of course, definitely, even as the ministry is re-strategized to ensure that this year it is a citizen-centric growing and environmental stewardship will take the long run in ensuring that we have an understanding in the climate change space and understanding, of course, in the climate change experience. The government also ensures that by the end or by November 13th, we'll be able to have a national tree planting day. Of course, this will be a public holiday to encourage the tree planting as part of the national effort to combat climate change and restore the environment. The initiative is tied to the country's goal of planting 15 billion trees, as I mentioned earlier, by 2032 to increase forest cover from its current level of around 8.83%. So of course the public holiday will be November 13th. Make sure you attend, and of course you have the know-how on the purpose of why you should attend that particular event, to provide a dedicated day for citizens to participate in the tree planting activities and help the country meet its climate goals. We'll be having that discussion in a very few minutes, of course, to really understand how we can shape an understanding in tree planting, and of course Mazingira Day coming in, which is now an ignition towards driving a better tomorrow as far as the environmental stewardship is concerned. But just to take you on the loop of what is happening, of course, Kenya's gears up for Mazingira Day, which was now with the National Fruit Tree Planting Drive. So this experience will allow so many Kenyans to participate in this. And of course, so many people tried to do this, and so many people like me went back to schools and, emphasized the need of tree planting ahead of climate change experience. So Kenya will mark, of course, marked this year's Mazingira Day. Of course, the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry has called on citizens to continue embracing this day in, day out, to plant fruit trees and clean their surrounding. And of course, the CS speaking, Deborah Barasa, speaking the media breakfast theme underscores the need for personal responsibility in protecting the environment and promoting sustainable livelihoods. So Barasa, the CS, of course, Minister of Forestry, lauded the media for shaping Kenya's environmental narrative and mobilizing citizens toward cleaner, greener and healthier nation. She noted that Mazingira Day serves as Kenya's national platform for environmental awareness and citizen action, definitely advancing the government's 15 billion tree growing program and the goal of achieving 30% tree cover by 2032. Of course, Look Up Television also been in the same set to ensure that we have these stories ignited all day. We make sure that we emphasize the need of climate change, and posting it on our social media platforms really helps us understand the need for citizens' awareness towards this. But just to take you on the glimpse, of course, our director will tell me if the gazettes are ready. We'll begin with the Daily Nation, just to take you on the glimpse of what is happening right here in the Republic, even as the government strategies. Of course, kila moja alihusika kwa history ya Mazingira Day, and everyone tried as much as possible. Organizations also came in to make sure that we have this in the same way we can. Planting trees definitely saves life in understanding the climate change space and all the aspects involved. It is 6 minutes past 8 a.m. Allow us to get you on the glimpse of our newspapers this morning. We start with the Daily Nation. Of course, the Daily Nation says, from hustlers to dynasties, President says he will woo more opposition figures. So the state of politics right in the Republic is swept to power on a campaign anchored on attacking prominent political families. He blamed for the suffering of majority Kenyans, but in the quest to craft a winning re-election strategy, President Ruto is courting the backing of the so-called dynasties. That is a story, of course, on the head-on Daily Nation, page 4 and 5. Of course, if you see the faces right here, the head-on really understanding, of course, how this is coming in. So this is former President Uhuru Kenyatta, and of course we have former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga, who says, I have had conversations with Raila Odinga, I have engaged my brother Uhuru Kenyatta, and of course I have also engaged many, including Gideon Moi, the son to the late Moi. Of course, recently I will continue to engage the leaders so that we transform this country into a faster world country in our lifetime, because it is possible. So President Ruto says, of course, igniting this, our key leaders also will be a channel of sense of control in understanding what is the political status quo right here in the Republic. So listen to that story, or read that story on page 4 and 5 on the Daily Nation. That is, of course, you see President William Ruto right here, and of course embracing these key figures will also take a different drive as well. School riots paying fury over hefty fees. We've listened to this story a couple of days ago. Of course, even as we near the examination time, both in primary and high school, there's so much difficulty as far as now the capitation fee is concerned. But the Daily Nation on page 8, says parents complain that unruly students have become a cash cow for schools that are imposing exorbitant fines on all learners to finance reconstruction after destruction of property during riots. They are also faulting the schools over the heavy financial burden imposed on them as school managers capitalize on strikes to make a killing with additional demands for payment of all arrears prior, of course, understanding this engagement of school fees and, the capitation fee. So even as the government strategizes on history ya mazingira, we're also hoping that history ya shule pia itakuwa sorted in the best way possible. Courier farms, now the new drug mills, that is in page 7 of the Daily Nation as well. Ruto changes tune. We'll see what kind of tune we'll be able to embrace right in the Republic, even as we speak about the Daily Nation. So that is just but a glimpse of the Daily Nation. Of course, this is 13th of October. Let's listen in. Of course, what is happening in the Standard? What does the Standard say this morning? Release them. Wow. What a Standard, by the way, has been, emphasizing the need for good governance and reestablishing this. So release them. So what does it say? Vanished for nearly 2 weeks, the families of activist Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyo have endured a tormenting silence after their abduction in Uganda. You listen to that story. We've been posting it quite some time. With both Kenyan and Ugandan governments offering a little clarity, fears are mounting that the two, now listen to this, that the two Free Kenya movement leaders are being held incommunicado by Ugandan security forces. Their disappearance has sparked outrage among civil society groups who see it as a part of a growing pattern of cross-border repression in East Africa. Wow. The social media, of course, you've seen this. We've been posting this for quite some time now. Now this one is Roslyn Ochieng, who says it is very painful. This one is a statement, of course, from Roslyn Jogu, of course, Oyo's mother. This one is Oyo. So Roslyn Jogu, Oyo's mother, says, it is very painful when you don't know where your child is. We really want to appeal to the government to help us bring the two home. I have not had anything at all. There is nothing. We are in the darkness. Wow. So the mother is, lamenting about this. And how it feels to lose a child and you do not know, you do not have communications of their whereabouts. Now what does Professor Fred Ogola, governance expert, says? It is impossible that the Kenyan government does not know where the two are. Their passports were stamped as they crossed the border. So there is no way they don't know. Attacking the government, Professor Gola feels the government is aware about this missing 2 people. Kofi Atinda anasema kwamba the day we were to meet Bobi Wine, was when the 2 were taken. We had lunch and were supposed to head and meet Bobi Wine within the same hour. As we repairing our car, a van came with the men, some in uniform, some not, and 1 woman, some were armed. Of course, this is the broader perspective on the Standard. This Monday, of course, we are deliberating on where they are. For security reasons, we wouldn't know about this, but we are hoping to have them at hand in the best way possible. So, release them, meaning, of course, the government or any other person who knows about them should release them as soon as now. The parents are crying, and the nation is crying, the organizations and the human rights support groups are also complaining about this. So we are hoping in good time we are having Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyo back home to safety. So this is what is happening in page 4 of the Standard. There's not so much speaking about this. We're seeing a man right here, Nikamako Chain, and of course we're seeing a country, Uganda, and of course we're seeing now this activist, these 2, Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyo. That is what the Standard has to offer on their newspaper this morning. All right, it is 13 minutes past 8 a.m. We're still embarking on our conversation, Mazingira Day, which happened, of course, on the 10th of October, and really emphasizing the need of why citizens are encouraged to plant trees, and why is the theme this year citizen-centric tree growing and environmental stewardship. Of course, our guest is joining us for this engagement this morning, even as we gear up the awareness and making sure that we emphasize the need of tree planting. Will also be in a better position to help climate changes and understand climate change, and of course coming in right in the country, even as the government re-strategize to ensure that there is so much trees that are planted across the country. And I remember the people that said we should go back to our schools and try as much as possible to not only create awareness but also help this student learn even as we plant trees. Did you plant trees?
First of all, I just didn't plant trees, but I engaged other 200 young people from different organizations to come plant 1,300 trees on Mazingira Day.
Amazing, amazing. And I'm really happy to see you, because on that same day, we had the initiation of the World Mental Health Day, which is also pivotal in ensuring that even as we panda miti in a particular way, we're also in the line of mental wellness. And you say in your bio that it's not only planting trees, but also ensuring that as we do this activity, it also is a way of inviting mental wellness towards everyone that is having this experience. How does that sound to you?
Most people plant trees for formalities, just because we have a 15 billion agenda to cover in a country. Indeed. Or to tick a goal. But I think we need to look at it with the impact side of it. The cycle of a tree is a human comes with a human aspect to it, and that is where when you're planting trees, you're touching the soil. It has a way that it relieves you, and it is mentally very sane, makes you even feel relieved and even ready to continue bouncing back to the normal life.
Indeed. Wow, makes sense. So this morning, what are you preparing to tell us about the Mazingira Day experience and the planting trees? Of course, in November we'll have the same experience. But for someone that is watching this at this very time and hour, what will you perhaps prepare them in their mind, even as we engage this conversation this morning?
Out to a Mazingira Day with prisoners. They are part of our community. As we are going back to the schools and the other institutions, let's not forget they are inmates who are also part of our families. Young people are the key drivers. Grassroots organizations like the Mazingira Green Hub is driving the real change on the ground. So look up for that, and we are looking forward to share the experience and the chattering we had on ground on Friday during Mazingira Day, which also served as World Mental Health Day. Yes.
All right, sawa sawa. So we'll be having the same conversations right about now, even in igniting a positive change towards all this. So impacting lives through climate change, through conversations on tree planting also comes in handy. So there's someone who said that why should we plant trees, whereas there's some communities that are grappling, have problems, they're challenged in a way. So hii effort yote ya kutumia do kununua miti, planting, why don't we shape this focus to these communities that are struggling? Miti itatusaidia namna gani?
First of all, miti si tu kitu ingine. Miti is part of our ecosystem. The late Professor Wangari Maathai said that if we don't take care of nature, it will take care of us perpendicularly. Indeed. So taking care of nature and planting our trees is actually serving those communities that are deserved. Because remember, when the environment is, maybe when you're experiencing famine and drought, the people who actually suffer more are the poor people in the pyramid, and therefore having an ecosystem that works well is much better, and that's why tree planting is not an option, it's a necessity in these current times of climate change.
All right, some necessity, of course, right here in life and embracing this. I'm really happy because you guys engage, and of course in a very few minutes when we get into the conversation, we'll be seeing some of your pictures and some of the activities that you did later on in the conversation, and we believe by the impact of what you guys are creating and so many other Kenyans are creating out there as we near the conversation. We talked about citizen-centric tree growing. What does that sound to you?
Aspect of ownership. We are not working for the communities, we are working with the communities that we are coming from. Therefore, it means that when we talk about citizen-centric, it is one of the core pillars of us being patriots of Kenya, that we need to drive change, not from the government aspect, but from an individual capacity, because when it is individualized, it means people take more ownership, and therefore there is that element of citizenship that would be lost if maybe an NGO from a foreign country comes to do that same
Indeed.
thing.
Sawa. So the government urges Kenyans to go back to their primary schools, which is a particular strategy to ensure that we have this positive change towards this. And of course, Migori residents join PS Wahunda to mark Mazingira Day 2025 Public Investments and Assets Management. So PS Cyril Wagunda also led Migori County residents in commemorating Mazingira Day 2025. And of course, as we talk about this environmental stewardship and environmental cleanup, Nairobi River Regeneration Project marks Mazingira Day with renewed commitment to restore the city's lifeline. So Mazingira Day, by the numbers, can Kenya hit 15 billion trees by 2032? Can it? Of course, you'll be able to help us understand if yes we can or not. So beyond tree planting, of course, there are also fun ways to honor Mazingira Day this weekend. And I believe even as we shape this conversation, if you planted trees, how did that feel? What is the experience? How did you feel? And what are some of the touchlines that we need to take into consideration? Of course, if you also can advise the government on many other ways that we can do this, just come away on our social media platforms, that is on YouTube and Facebook, tuambie uli plant trees wapi and how many trees did you plant, and of course, do you feel that the government or the country can hit 15 billion trees ahead of the 2032 experience in this? I believe November also itasaidia in boosting this engagement, but of course, since we are in the social and health hour, this is also part and parcel of what is happening right in the society, and of course to embrace that also nature is health, and when we have a good health, of course we have also good life, and trees is among these sensational moments of good life as we speak. Of course, joining us now this morning, we'll also be able to have this conversation in the best way possible and igniting the fact that this is also a drive for the government to re-strategize in ensuring we have clean environment right to the society. Now, of course, as we even reflect about this, the society is also aware that the World Teachers Day this October is also emphasized. Let's embrace this in the best way possible. You're a teacher out there, you've been doing quite a good job, and that is why so many people are where they are at this particular moments in time. I believe also as Look Up Television, we also embrace every teacher including our best teacher Paulo, making sure that things are running in the best way possible. Ambol, receive your flyers, Paul, as well as many other teachers out there that are making sure we have this ignited in the best way possible. Women, this is quite a trending story. Woman that landed at JFK, a country that showed an ID of a country that is not existing. But watching that story, imagining that this country does not exist, how does that sound? But umefika TV, let's use for instance JKIA. Umefika, instead of producing or providing ID ya Kenya, una provide ID na country ama ushago kwenyu, hata ijulikani, hata iko kwa map. That was alarming, and of course we're still trying to find hii country iko wapi, maybe hata iko kwa hii planet, and we'll be able to also give you a clear communication on that. So there is a story also that is trending right here, that you've seen it online. Member of Parliament Kibra Peter Orero had a clash in this. Of course, sahi imeanza kichungu kimeingia, ni kubaya sasa. So this story, of course, is coming in the light of making sure that we have good governance and good leadership. Of course, later on, detectives are really looking out to have this clear understanding on what really happened and why did they do that. So MP Kibra Peter Orero is in trouble even as we speak, together with the driver. But that is just a glimpse of what is taking shape. Even as we speak about matters society, we're also hoping that we'll have good governance in ensuring that tomorrow iko sawa. Just a meaty program, 1.06 billion trees planted during the Mazingira Day. Of course, congratulations to many others that participated in such engagement. Now, we want to get to the conversation. Good morning. If you're watching us for the first time, remember, ingia pale kwenye YouTube kidogo, ingia pale kwenye Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, share these contents because they are also impactful. Ukiingia pale Facebook, of course, Edwina is making sure that you're well informed, and this is coming at the right time. So as we take a short break, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be joining in by a lawyer and of course also a founder of an environmental organization to help us understand this particular perspective. Don't go too far. You're watching The Morning Drift. See you in the next minutes. Taarifa zinapochipuka na kutufikia papa hapa kwenye makao makuu ya chumba cha habari cha runinga ya Lookup, kwenye taifa, kwenye serikali, kwenye bunge, tunajitosa hadi kwenye sauti ya wenyeji ili kupata tu maoni ya wenyeji kuhusu masuala haya yanayochipuka.
Maana hii kitu inaenda kuumiza Mkenya kwa tax.
Hakuna kitu tunafurahia. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Sisi tunaumia, si ati tunaumia ile ya kiukweli. Juu maisha ni ngumu.
Na bila shaka tunapata maoni yao ili sauti yao ipate kusikika. Na watasema hili, waseme lile, watasema hiki, na waseme kile, almuradi sauti yao ipate taa.
Mambo ya mafuta tena imekuwa ni changamoto zaidi kwa kila mtu, wa bodaboda.
Uchumi ikikuwa stable, tunaamini mambo itakuwa sawa sawa.
Kwanza liko na ria wa boda, mama mboga nini. Hao sasa ndio wamefinywa zaidi man.
Mtazamaji, hii ni bunge la wenyeji.
People are there to belittle you. When people are questioning you,
if you don't move fast, of course, yes, you lose it, but then it's not us to push you.
But you do not know the God who has been molding me. What has he been doing to me?
The deep and mature conversations of empowerment for you with a curious mind and an appetite for oriented conversations.
I concur with what you're saying. You plan your finances, you can easily
live without a debt.
An engaging safe space of free expression and truthfulness with an upheld vibrance, motivation and happiness.
So many children who are there, they are not living their dreams.
Join us for deep conversations with Zipporah Gashushe every Saturday from 8 p.m. The Deeper Conversations on Look Up TV.
Save a Life is a non-profit organization that has taken the front line in transforming lives in the entire country. So far, we have transformed life of over 100,000 people through our programs, which include medical support, youth empowerment, street family program, feeding program, and climate change. Join us today as we transform lives. As we always say, service to humanity is service to God. Save a life, transforming lives.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying tuned. We are live on TV, and of course we're live also on social media, Facebook and YouTube. Of course, share our links right there, and of course even as we embrace these conversations right here on Look Up Television, we are hopeful that we keep, but you can get a look up there. There are trees that are planted here, so this is the same positive influence that we're making out there. So this is also a matter of effect as far as the environment is concerned. So Cheza kama wewe, where did you plant your trees? And tuambie how's the experience, ilikuwa namna gani? All right. Joyce Karimi is a lawyer by training with experience in top-tier law firms in Nairobi. She is the founder and CEO of MAZINGIRA Green Hub, a youth-led organization championing environmental conservation and developing tech-driven solutions in the climate change space. Beyond her work in sustainability, she is a passionate advocate for mental health awareness. She actively integrates nature-based approaches to healing and well-being, ensuring that the 70-plus volunteers she leads at MAZINGIRA Green Hub embrace nature as a tool for resilience and the mental wellness. If you didn't know, of course, she also serves as the International Service Director of the Rotaract Club of Nairobi Central, where she represents the club globally and advances in this year's Rotary theme, Unite for Good, by building meaningful partnerships for positive impact. That is our guest this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. It is so lovely to see you. You know, by the time, of course, you entered, nobody would have thought about, you know, the extensive bio that you have. How does that make you feel day in, day out?
First of all, even when I'm seated here, I'm like, wow, that's Joyce. Yes, that's her. And I think I've come to realize that age and time doesn't really matter. It is what you do with that time that you have. And you can build a bio of whatever sorts if you just put your mind into it. So I'm happy that I'm not where I was 2 years or 5 years ago. So yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Because there's some people that you tell them to, you know, have their bio and they'll write 2 lines because they do not have so much, you know, there might not be so much, might be 1 line, but really stronger. You know, so ensuring that a youth is particularly driving towards this particular kind of achievements, you know, and since you're working with so many youths as well, how do we make sure that we shape them to become better and stronger people when it comes now to achieving?
First of all, you need to understand that statement that the youth are the leaders of tomorrow is a fallacy and something that needs to be thrown away from the...
They're not?
We are not the leaders of tomorrow. We are the leaders of today. We are taking spaces. By the way, the youth of this age and time are not waiting to be given opportunities. We are grabbing opportunities.
Wow.
We are occupying spaces, and we are airing our voices even in a way that cannot be shaken or shut down. And that's the force that we drive, especially in the era of technology and digital transformation. We are the people and the custodians of technology, which is now the world we are in our currently reality.
But the thing today is not really working. That means we have to push for tomorrow. So tomorrow itajipa.
Tomorrow si guaranteed manze, so lazima you work with what is there. We need to come to the realization that even that tomorrow, 10 years ago people thought the tomorrow will be better, which is better because it is effort, endless effort. Your today's activities actually impact your tomorrow's outcome and things like that. So what we need to remove is the idea that there is a future that is great, because we can't get to that future if we can't make use of whatever we already have in position at the at this particular point, which is today.
Wow, impressive. And that is a lawyer speaking, right? So when you're having this conversation now, the government is also trying as much as possible not to plant trees tomorrow, and that is why it's starting now to emphasize the need of tree planting, tree growing everywhere right here in the Republic. And of course, we are demonstrating this to different schools to help them, since they are also coming in the light of environmental stewardship. They'll also be in a position to embrace, climate change, conversations on tree planting. Why do you think tree planting is so much important to a country as far as Kenya?
First of all, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Joyce Nyawira Karimi, and I'm the founder of Mazingira Green Hub.
Indeed.
Our nursery, our organization started as a tree nursery, understanding that there's a very big gap. Kenya Forest Services cannot provide the 15 billion tree seedlings on themselves. There's a very big deficit. And understanding that made me see a job opportunity for young people that actually our organization serves. And right now, we started 500 seedlings, and in our nursery currently we have over 10,000 seedlings. That is just a grassroots organization that's able to build on its success. Now, with those trees, we are very strategic with the people we partner with. So far, we've partnered with 20 schools, including my alma mater, which is the M-Pesa Foundation Academy, which is a high school located in Thika. I have done trees in around 750 trees in Nairobi School, and we've also worked with Mbagathi Primary, MGM Academy, and other schools around the Nairobi area and outside, even in Murang'a. Now, when you come to plant these trees and you realize the benefits, and because our trees and the trees that we promote mostly are fruit trees in our organization, because we don't want to just plant any other trees. We want people to see the fruits of the trees they are planting. And maybe because we deal and even we train young people on tree propagation and grafting, when we say plant a grafted avocado tree, in 3 years time it is going to yield and give you avocados. So say the 750 trees we planted in Nairobi School, and what we do in these schools, we make sure that the students adopt a tree, because the aim is not to just plant trees, it's to grow trees. And after they have grown, these 750 will be able to feed the students of Nairobi School. If there are many, they can be able they are going to be able to sell. Therefore, there's an element of sustainability and therefore a circular economy. That is what Mazingira Green Hub is coming to do. An organization led by the youths and for the youths and with the youths.
So, how productive is this?
This is productive because when you talk about the government is devolving their vision to the citizens, it's the people at the grassroots that understand what needs to be done. We are a registered community-based organization in Lang'ata sub-county, and because we interact with the community day in, day out, we understand what is the need, what is and what needs to be, what the solution needs to be. And like maybe sitting in boardrooms and thinking that people need trees. No, maybe sometimes people don't need just trees. They need an incentive even to take care of these trees. And that incentive looks like that one guava, that one mango, that one day they can sit on that shade, they can eat a mango from that same shade, and they can even be able to take the same mangoes to the market and get a livelihood out of it. What have you done? A sustainable economy that is very, very productive and future effective.
All right. Who's to blame in all this?
There's no one to blame. I think actually we are to blame. You know, for a long time, pointed hands, it's the government, it is Safaricom, it is TV stations, but we forget when you point on people, you're pointing with one hand and you have the other 3 hands looking at you. Indeed. So you are to be blamed. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Did you plant a tree yourself?
Indeed. I think the question now ignites now how productive is these experiences, because day in, day out we'll be planting trees. Day in we'll be embracing this experience, and even as the government unites to make sure that we have an emphasis in tree planting, also the citizens must be aware about this. And of course, there's no room for blame game, but a room for productivity to ensure that hapo mbele tuko sawa.
Yes.
And of course, the question that we asked earlier, can Kenya hit 15 billion trees? It is not a joke. It needs a particular unison towards you people, organizations, citizens, and the government at large. Even as you speak right about now, there is also now a room for citizens to embrace tree growing. What will be your thoughts towards this in making sure that despite the fact that the government is really also in a position to make sure all of the people, many people understand the alignment of tree planting, but also the citizens are aware, on that particular day, sasa nitapanda miti ama nitashughulikia sapa ya leo jioni, nitapanda miti ama nitatafuta do. So to make sure that this day will be honored in the best way possible, it is not a room for the government. It is also part and parcel, citizens kuhusika. Let the kids who are primary and the high school participate in these projects. We are so busy hunting for school fees, we're so busy hunting for other things. How do we make sure that the citizens are also encouraged to be part of this experience?
Just imagine a future where we have enough tree cover in our country, where we have, again, seasons that are predictable for that farmer in Uasin Gishu that feeds the whole country with that maize. Remember that even the same trees act as pollination grounds for bees and things like that. Now, that means we'll have surplus food. That means that we'll be able to feed ourselves, our families, and even sell the surplus and have the sustainable economy. Now, we need to really ask ourselves, yes, school fees needs to be found, but also, what are you contributing to this as a citizen of the country? Now, I'm going to bring it back to why I'm saying grassroots level community-based organization and NGOs is the solution. At Mazingira Green Hub, this particular season on Friday, we engaged with over 300 inmates of the Nairobi West prison. First of all, this is a community within our area that mostly is neglected and isolated. Remember, these are people who came from, in as much as maybe they have the negative side, but they are still human beings that need to be taken care of. And I would quote one of the inmates came to me and told me, thank you for coming to us. Just seeing you guys plant with us and even smiling with us has broken the monotony of waking up and doing all the prison activities. And it gave us renewed hope that something is good. Even when we get out of here, we are going to find a community that is ready for us. Now, what you have done, you've changed the psychology of that person. Even them, when they get out of there, they will say, by the way, there are people who came, we planted with them. So even me, as I go back to re-enter the community after serving the correctional, in the correctional facility, I have the responsibility and mandate. And now that means that for instance, our aim in future is to even go to the same prison and train them on tree grafting and tree propagation. What you have done, you have equipped that person with skills they can be able to eat from, with skills they can be able to even put food on the table. Can we look at this in a very circular manner, where this tree you plant today, they say, I think there's this proverb, they say, when you plant a tree, you won't enjoy its shade. It's people maybe 10 years down the line that will enjoy the shade. Can you be that person who actually makes your grandchildren's life even more effective? Let us stop working from a minimalistic or short-term goal. Let's look at sometimes the long-term, and that is what the future looks like.
Why do we need to plant so many trees? What is the reflection in all this? Why are we planting so many trees, despite the fact that you're speaking about productivity, and you're speaking about later on in the years to come, there are people that will benefit in all this. I understand, of course, if you do not do it now, if you do not plant trees now, then there might be an effect, years to come. History of climate change will come through, disadvantages. health issues as well will come through. But why do you think there is a push to have as many trees as possible?
First of all, trees act as absorbers of carbon. One thing we need to talk, when you talk about climate change, it is not a story.
Indeed.
It's our lived realities of today. In law, we have some agreements called the Paris Agreement and UNFFC. And you see in these agreements, we have different annexes. Countries maybe in the developed countries, in the developing countries, and the least developed countries. All these countries have responsibilities to make sure that the carbon that has been emitted over time. Unfortunately, this is where sometimes I don't agree with most of these international organizations. Yes, they will come and tell us to plant trees for carbon credits and carbon emissions and all this. Yet they are the major contributors of the carbon. But now this is the reality that we have. In as much as Africa does not have the companies, or we don't emit as much carbon as the global north, we are affected. You know the thing about climate change, it is transboundary. It is not limited by any boundaries.
Indeed.
That means that it affects you whether you like it or not. Look at this. When we have drought and famine, who suffers more? It is that citizen in Kibera, in Kawangware, in Turkana. They are the ones who feel the pinch so much. Not that man, not Elon Musk. Elon Musk doesn't relate to that. Because when there's drought and famine, the price of unga in a spike. Unaona, the price of the small commodity, because when we don't have enough money running in the economy, fuel costs everything, and you see it affects you down the line. So trees are one of the ways of absorbing this carbon that is being emitted daily, because we have to keep the factories running. We need to have everything keep running, but what is going, where does that waste go? And trees, remember in that science or in biology, there was that aspect of photosynthesis and things like that. That's the work of trees, because it will absorb the carbon and we'll be able to have a more healthier society.
I'm happy to hear that. Then definitely the drive is coming in, you know, from young people as you know, emphasizing about this. It means the drive has a positive change towards driving solutions to environmental stewardship. Back in the years, of course, we were discussing about garbage throwing. Ukienda place flani, you find takataka zimetupwa kila mahali, and right about now there is so much strategies that are being put in place. If you go to Nairobi CBD right now, there are bins that have been placed there, so hakuna kutupa takataka ovyo ovyo, which is also a move of this environmental stewardship, and many of us can do that as well. Squeeze hata huwezi tema mate ovyo ovyo, you know, huwezi tupa tu vitu ovyo ovyo because you feel like watu wataniona aje. This is not the best way to take the approach in it. But even as we discuss about this story, tree planting as a way to, you know, bring an impact, mfuko pia itakuwa fiti. I'd really like us to understand the elements of the benefits zenye tree planting inazaleta as a design, you know, employment, job, kiplani. So you've mentioned about later on this tree planting will be productive towards these youths that have been crying, or citizens that have been crying about the cost of living, the cost of employment, but also will work as a productive way to help them out. As we speak about that, hebu tusaidie kuelewa that since of course tuko kwa economic crisis.
Wacha tuongelee let me break it down.
All right.
At Mazingira Green Hub, we started our operations last year in February. We got registered this year in February. I have seen the transformation. First of all, I'll make it clear. See glitterly, ati unaingia tu unapata mado. See something that you just get. It's something that comes long term. You invest in it.
Indeed.
Green job opportunities are there.
Amazing.
Right now, there's a lot of ecopreneurship opportunities. Now, at Mazingira, we started as a tree nursery. Then one of my mentors advised me, why not register this? We have so many funding opportunities, grants, proposals you can write, and currently we are actually still in a partnership with Safaricom because such organizations understand the role of young people in actually offsetting this carbon footprint that is there. Now imagine Mazingira, because the vision for Mazingira in 5 years from now is to employ over 100 young people. Now imagine I am a lawyer by profession. I would be thinking of going to Milimani and all that, and everyone else is thinking about that. But I am created to be a problem solver. I realize one of the major issues we have is unemployment of youth. Hiyo ni problem imekuwa hapo kutoka 1980s. Okay, I think maybe noko 2000. Kitambo alikuwa anasema before you're done with camp, you already have somewhere. But the reality of unemployment is something that has been there for so long. But do you think I have figured it out myself right now? No, I don't even have the money sometimes to even do some of these activities. But this is the thing that comes with a vision. A vision is like a seedling. Is like a seed. When you water it, it becomes a seedling. Eventually it grows to become a tree, and that tree eventually gets fruits and they can feed you. And this is what I've seen currently. When we worked with young people, these 70 volunteers in my organization, there are people in the tech space who have actually built our website. Someone comes and searches Mazingira Green Hub website and they ask, who made for you this website? I'm like, it's my friend. Say my friend Price is the one who made this website. I recommend them to make someone else's website. Definitely they will have to pay that person. What have you done? You've created an opportunity for that young person who was having the skill of tech who came and just volunteered to work here. There are people who are good in digital marketing. There are people, myself, who is like a lawyer, who I was able to make a constitution for our organization. What are you doing? You're actually giving and equipping these young people with the skills that one day they will eat from. Again, you'll realize when you start working, you actually start attracting other people on board. I'm currently working with the GIZ, which is a German corporation that helps young female founders. With this, I was given 3 experts, one a software developer, another one a branding expert, and a financial expert, who are laying the ground and structures for our organization. Because our aim is to be able to transition to become a digital to provide digital solutions in the climate space. All these trees that we are planting and growing will be having an IoT device that will be measuring the amount of carbon that every tree is able to emit or is able to absorb. Say a podo tree absorbs 10 grams of carbon and you've planted 10,000 such podo trees. Multiply by 10, that's 1,000 tons of carbon that have been absorbed. So when you are also partnering with organizations or corporate organizations, you're able to tell them that you've been able to absorb these tons of carbon. That's sustainable reporting. And data is something that nowadays is being sold out there. And that is what opportunities look like. We are using technology to solve problems, but also to create money. Because money is where you just need to know where the money is. But you need to take care, you need to strategize to get to where it is.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Strategizing to make sure that you know where the money is.
Yes.
Wow. Just do you have money?
And
so you haven't figured out?
I don't, honestly, I will sit here and tell you that I am driving a Land Rover. I don't have all that. But I think if the aim is not always money, it is people with profits. First people, impact people.
All right.
The profits will always, and the money will always find you. But if the aim is to get the money, it will always run away from you. So create impact, and that impact will be so loud to a point that it will just find the profits and everything will find you where you are.
All right.
Yeah.
I believe this conversation, Dan and Elewa, history of profitability, and of course the benefits are really under control. Of course, even as we shape this conversation, ladies and gentlemen, that is Joyce allowing us to understand the impact of tree planting and really emphasizing the need of why we should embrace environmental stewardship, as the citizens are also called out to make sure that we are in this experience together. It is not just an impact for the government, but also to the citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, we are taking a short break. Of course, later on, of course, in the conversation, we'll be able to, understand the environmental benefits, even as we improve air quality, combat climate change, and enhance water systems. So don't go too far. You're watching The Morning Drift. taarifa zinapochipuka na kutufikia papa hapa kwenye makao makuu ya chumba cha habari cha runinga ya Lookup, kwenye taifa, kwenye serikali, kwenye bunge, tunajitosa hadi kwenye sauti ya wenyeji ili kupata tu maoni ya wenyeji kuhusu masuala haya yanayochipuka.
Maana hii kitu inaenda kuumiza Mkenya kwa tax.
Hakuna kitu tunafurahia. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Sisi tunaumia, si ati tunaumia ile ya kiukweli. Juu maisha ni ngumu.
Na bila shaka tunapata maoni yao ili sauti yao ipate kusikika. Na watasema hili, waseme lile, watasema hiki na waseme kile, almuradi sauti yao ipate taa.
Mambo ya mafuta tena imekuwa ni changamoto zaidi kwa kila mtu wa bodaboda.
Uchumi ikikuwa stable, tunaamini mambo itakuwa sawa sawa.
Kwanza liko na ria wa boda, mama mboga nini. Hao sasa ndio wamefinywa zaidi man.
Mpenzi mtazamaji, hii ni bunge la wenyeji.
People are there to belittle you. When people are questioning you,
If you don't move fast, of course, yes, you lose it, but then it's not us to push you.
but you do not know the God who has been molding me, what has he been doing to me?
The deep and mature conversations of empowerment for you with a curious mind and an appetite for oriented conversations.
I concur with what you're saying. You plan your finances, you can easily live without a debt.
An engaging safe space of free expression and truthfulness with an upheld vibrance, motivation and happiness.
So many children who are there, they are not living their dreams.
Join us for deep conversations with Zipporah Gashushe every Saturday from 8 p.m. The Deeper Conversations on Lookup TV.
Save a Life is a non-profit organization that has taken the front line in transforming lives in the entire country. So far, we have transformed life of over 100,000 people through our programs, which include medical support, youth empowerment, street family program, feeding program, and climate change. Join us today as we transform lives. As we always say, service to humanity is service to God. Save a life, transforming lives.
Welcome back. You're watching The Morning Brief. Tree planting is important because trees provide essential benefits like producing oxygen, absorbing carbon dioxide, and to combat climate change and improving air and water quality. So the best way to have this, improve air quality, which they filter pollutants from the air, making it cleaner to breathe. So protect soil. Tree roots hold soil in place, which prevents erosion and improves soil health. As we get in the conversation, now there's a touchline here that because we are marking two best activities on a particular single day, how do they come in place, to understand how we can shape them, and later on in the discussion we'll be able to have an alignment and a complete alignment to all this. It was World Mental Health Day. It was Mazingira Day. Igniting these two activities and experiences really speaks to the society. So there are some that will say that tree planting inasaidia kuheal, that tree planting inasaidia ku calm down, and many participated in this such an activity and the memorable activities to make sure that later in due course they'll marvel to the activities that they made or they did. As we even ignite this conversation, kuna history sasa ya mental health na Mazingira Day na tree planting. So why do you think also mental health comes in handy in the sense of tree planting? How do they collaborate?
First of all, nature is a natural healer.
Indeed.
That's why you find people going to run to Karura, and that's why there's a very big fuss with why they are putting tarmac in Karura forest. Because when you're running with the nature, when you're running on the soil, you're actually connecting with Mother Nature. And she is a healer in nature. And that's why tree planting, growing forests is not only good for the ecosystem, which is the small insects, the birds, and all the, even us human beings. I remember one of the interviews that I was made from Mazingira Day, because we were very, very strategic. Being the founder and CEO of Mazingira Green Hub, I've gone through mental health issues. And one of the things I have been natural therapy I've gotten is when I'm interacting with these young people, when we are planting trees, when we're in the nursery trying to fill the papers, the planting bags with soil, planting these trees, and actually going and seeing the cycle of that tree from the time it was a seed to become a seedling, to be mature enough to be planted to be a tree. And one day after 2 years, there's this one day we planted some trees, around 150 trees in M-Pesa Foundation. I went there recently, and they are so grown, they act as windbreakers for that community. And you could see how beautiful that place was. For some reason, I felt so happy and so proud of the work that we are doing and the initiatives that we are doing. So you don't see it when you're doing it, but there's something that it does to your head. That's very healing in nature. Now for us, Mazingira Day wasn't just about planting trees. Was also about healing and planting hope in young people. Remember, we are working with young people, and most of us are very fragile. The realities of our lives are so gluesome in a point that you feel so frustrated with life. Every day, if you're a student in school, then unatafuta pesa ya comrade ama sometimes unainama ama unafanya sijui nini, but one day and umekuja pamoja, you see young people, maybe friends from sijui where, and then you reconnect through nature. It's such an awesome experience to actually get to see this. So I think the intersection between nature and mental health cannot be denied. You know, gone are the days where people come and sit here and then you start telling them, you know, you're mentally ill. Actually, they say when you count in a room, like here we are 4. So when you do 1, 2, 3, 4, she has mental health issues. Still, if I do 1, 2, 3, 4, I have mental issues. So like in every room, the 4th person is suffering from from some issues that they can't see. You will come out here, we'll smile, we will do all things.
The 1, 2, 3, 4 makes sense?
Yes, it does. It's
so right about now, you can also know, you know.
Yes, if you count that way, because
from this it's you.
From that way. Anyway, so what I'm just saying, nature is healing, and tree planting, the activity, because you know you'll be planting, you'll be touching the soil, you'll be watering the tree. Actually, someone was saying that tree represents a human being. The roots, if the roots are firm, it means that it's going to grow to be a big tree. The trunk supports the leaves. That means that you need a support system, because you can't exist in isolation. You need people around you. That's a community that you build that makes you. The branches that hold the leaves, there's that aspect of tunahitajiana or something like that. But you see, even the leaves are needed for photosynthesis, so that the tree can have the food and the roots can grow deeper and things like that. That shows how life is in aspects. So even if you don't think about it, there's something psychologically that happens to you that's very healing. And that is why for us, going to Nairobi West Prison to interact with the inmates and the young people was one way of marking the Mazingira Day and the World Mental Health Day, because it is a Mazingira Day with an impact, not just planting trees.
Wow, impressive. And the way you're bringing it out shows the need of why there is an ignition towards embracing tree planting. And the fact that you went to a prison, you know, speaks masses, volumes as well. Wow. So ungeniambia tukuje bwana.
Parada.
Next time we'll come. So, you've mentioned about tree, you know, Mother Nature as part of healing, but there are many people also they're going to these spaces at in a calm environment, but later on nasikia aliona hiyo miti na kafiti akajihang.
Interpretation ya life ni tofauti. But I think that's when nilisema having a support system is necessary. As in,
Usijiisolate.
Don't feel as if life has come to you. I remember in 2023 I was becoming very suicidal as life wasn't making sense. You may fika point unajiuliza, what's my purpose in this life? You just feel like you're part of a system. You went to primo, umemaliza primo, umeingia high school, umemaliza high school, umeenda campo, and then you always think that ukienda campus, life is going to be better. Apparently, the higher you go, the cooler it becomes, or the colder it becomes. Life comes at you and you start wondering. And then most of us are dealing with so many childhood traumas that we thought we grew up and we became very strong and like, I think in most African homes, talking about mental health in itself is like a taboo, and it's just like squeezing ndio unaanza kuona watu wameanza ku warm up. But I remember when I was in campus, there's 1 year that I took a 1 year gap because things were not making sense. And when I was telling my father I want to take a 1 year gap, first of all, I'm in a scholarship. I have a stipend, I have almost everything anyone would want, but everything was not making sense. I went to a good university and all that, but when I was asked for that break, they were afraid I would not come back and finish school. Maybe something would happen and I get pregnant, and that's where my story with school would end. But normalizing to take breaks. And during that break is when Mazingira, the vision of Mazingira Green Hub came to me. And I realized, in essence, I am a farmer. I come from Murang'a County, and we grow trees. With my dad, we used to grow so many trees. And I realized this is the most natural inclination I have. So our nursery is located inside the administrative police camp, and we have the youth of that church called St. John Bosco Uhuru Camp. Then I talked to our priest, who's also a police, and I'm like, I have this idea. There's this piece of land that's here. Can we start with a nursery where when we start selling these seedlings, some of this amount gets back to the youth kitty, and we are able to help those young people who come from the areas of Kibera, Soweto, high-rise, those Kibera areas. So they gave me that opportunity to start that nursery. Now, I used, during my lowest moment, that's my turning point, because Mazingira Green Hub has opened doors for me that I never imagined I'd be able to have at my small age. Amazing. Or very big age for some other people that look up to me. And the people that I've seen being impacted around here, because these 70 volunteers that have come are different students from University of Nairobi, USIU, Strathmore, recent graduates, young people. Amazing. Seeing like 70 people can believe in this vision. Some would come through our DMs on Instagram, and they would come and support. Everyone puts in, and I realized kidole kimoja hakiui chawa. I can do something and others can come, and that's how we are able to get something very beautiful in the end of it all. So I think it started with my very vulnerable point and using the most out of it, and God removed me from that particular point and gave me a vision which I hope more young people will come and find some hope, or find a place where they feel seen, accepted, and even empowered.
Indeed. And of course, even as you speak about, so many people will come. You've seen people embrace this, and people embrace the green outlook. Just recently, of course, you see people are embracing this, and I think you've added 2 of them. They'll also be part of this particular program, and will have the best taste in aligning Mazingira Green Hub. Let's talk about, there is so much you've mentioned about vision and embracing change, and people are getting introduced towards this. Then how will these citizens, despite the fact now they know about this, also Pandamiti means some other things in our local communities, I believe you understand. How can citizens collaborate with the government to fast track or to get a positive change towards tree planting?
No, this reminds me of one statement that we say, that democracy is for the people, with the people, and for the people. And when you talk about this, when we look at our constitution, in the preamble it starts with, we the people of Kenya. It doesn't say I the president or I the MP. So meaning that as the citizens, we are the custodians of the country. And if we stand up and say that this is what we want, then that is where we'll have change. And sometimes collaboration doesn't look like always throwing stones and saying it's always person X who's not being able to do this and this. Always ask yourself, what would I do if I was in their position? Now, if I can't be in their position, what can I do in my own position? One thing we need to see is that we are all leaders in our own capacities. If you are a father, you have 5 kids, you are the president of that home. If you're a young person, you have 2 or 3 friends that you can influence. The moment that we realize that it is we have areas of influence and we take advantage to drive positive change and come together, because this is one thing also as citizens, we look for collaboration as the government. It's harder for the government to hear one person, but when these individuals come together, speak with one voice and say enough is enough, let us do this together. Let us not fight each other. We are all stakeholders of this particular conversation. We are all beneficiaries of these things that we are talking about, especially
Did?
Don't need our help anymore. Africans have been known for so many years to rely on these handouts. The thing with free things is that you don't value them. But if we work together and see the pain of the process, then the reward will be more rewarding than just it being given to you. So I think what I'm saying as citizens, can we be conscious? Can we now stop pointing fingers? But even the most immediate thing, 2027 is here. Umechukua kura yako because kura yako ni sauti yako. When you go and take that vote and you choose a sane person and put them in places of power, they will influence policies that will be better for even you. So I think we need to start working with whatever is there. So if you're tired of this government, don't be tired of it and just sit there at home and say, I can't go and go make that line. You're not just making it you're making it for the next 5 years. You get? So what I'm saying, can we start working with whatever is there? Can we be more woke and even have this conversation? Let's not fear to actually point out when issues are not there. And one thing I'm proud of my generation, the Gen Z that said we shaked and we changed the narrative. And we showed you that we don't have to wait. By the way, tukiweza kuja pamoja, kuna umoja ni nguvu. If we come together, our voices cannot be, it can't be shut off anymore. That's how collaboration looks like.
All right. King Dante Marx is asking, despite of course the environmental challenges, how do you and how does Mazingira Green Hub stay motivated?
Motivation is just a small incentive. It is discipline and consistency. The days that we are not on air like today, maybe the day, even like Mazingira being able to pull 200 people, there was a lot of work in it. And what I've learned as a young leader is I would have failed as a leader if my vision just stays with me. I need to let the people around me also see, in as much as they cannot see the vision clearly, have an idea of what is happening. So what we've done in the organization, we have dockets. In these dockets, we have directors. So meaning that my work is to just follow through. What I've done, I have been able to empower other young people to become leaders. Because when you tell someone, I'm giving you to be, like for that particular day, we had like a planning committee of over 30 people, different organizations, different partners. And proud to say that we partnered with organizations like Momentum. Momentum is a microfinance company, Rotaract Clubs, and Rotary Clubs, which is also a humanitarian organization across the world. We partnered with our church, which is our most immediate community, and I'm very proud to be part of that community, schools and everyone. when you realize that everyone has something to offer and bring on the table, and tell them, we had a concept, and tell them this is what you can do. This is even coming and showing up, that is enough for us. That brings that aspect of, let's say there's that aspect of motivation. But now when they come themselves on ground, most of them were so amazed to see that a young person can actually do something and it can work through. We don't have government money, we don't have what, but it is you giving us that 300 shillings. But even you, when you come on ground, you're like, wow. So this can be done. So it means even me, I can do this. Also what you're doing, you're building a support system. I won't lie, my biggest support system is my partner, is my best friend, and my parents. Amazing. These are the people that keep me sane. But now now more than above all, I don't see the 70 volunteers as just stepping stones. I tell them every other time, if you see an opportunity that through Mazingira Green Hub you can grow, I will give you access. Go and say you are what and what in this organization. Put it in your CV, put it where, because I think there's beauty in all of us growing together and getting there instead of just one person being there. And you see, I think there's something like growing people. So, and that comes over time. There are times the motivation is not there, but once you have a clear why am I doing this? That's the reason why I'm here at 8 instead of sleeping, you get. So I think it is just figuring out your why and let it be very clear. Your why can change, as in it can take different shapes, but it should always remain to be very strong.
Indeed. Yesterday week, of course, we also discussed with a couple of visitors that joined us, and you're speaking the same understanding into many things that happen in the minds of people, and adjusting to this becomes at some point difficult because we do not know the reason, which is the why. So it should start from different people acknowledging the fact that we need to take a move and we need to try re-strategize in the best way possible. And I'm really happy because if you came here early morning, you also found that the engagement right here, you may plant trees, and Look Up Television also is emphasizing this. You know, the mood, unaingia tu unakaribishwa na miti, and you know, it looks lovely. Unasikia vile huku kuna sound vizuri sana.
Karibu hadi nikatalie huku. It looks like a picnic site kazuri sana.
Indeed.
Even the places for sitting, you can see, oh my God, beautiful work here.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And that is why it's called Look Up.
Look Up.
Yeah, Look Up no miti kabisa. Understanding that the point in time, of course, you know, definitely making sure that we're impacting lives and local communities. So we are having Historia Jaza meeting because the government has been able to approach 1.06 billion trees in the program MAZINGIRA Day. Then later in the years, we are hoping that we'll drive many trees as much as possible. Where do you see these experiences? Where do we see the country? As far as now Historia Meet is concerned, do you think we're taking the right road to approaching Historia 15 billion trees?
The government is actually, I think one of the parts that it's working very well and it's actually on track is on this greening and the forest cover of 15 billion agenda. Last week I was a panelist in the Safaricom Sustainability Business Report launch. And the government has partnered with key stakeholders like Safaricom, KCB, name it, private sectors, now even with schools, because you realize that it's not a one-man show. And an organization or a company like Safaricom has done almost billions have done so many trees right now, and like currently they are also working with institutions, I know, because they are going to be doing trees in different universities across the country. That means that when they come together, they collaborate. When we have big organizations and companies like Safaricom, small organizations that are growing to become boundaryless and international, like Mazingira Green Hub, come together, and then we have this also creating, and I think the approach of also going back to your school is very effective.
Amazing.
Because if you imagine you went back, myself, if I went back to my village school in Moranga and I did 200 trees with the students, sorry, with the students, it means that I'm creating an environmental, students and citizens that are environmental conscious. So this is more of a very long term. It might, I think 2032 is very possible. Okay. It is possible if we take the drastic measures. But if we continue the same pace, it looks like a long shot, but I think we are getting there either way. Yeah.
All right. I'm really feeling that we're getting there in the warm light. We are now coming to the bottom line of the conversation. Of course, now speaking about this is really emphasizing on sustainability and ensuring that later on in the years we'll be able to shape a particular commitment towards sustainability development and achieving the environmental stewardship, and also making sure that every other citizen is invited to all this. And you've mentioned something about the kura yangu, you know, making sure that we get these people into offices that will drive a same command in ensuring we have sustainable projects, and not necessarily complaining about so many things, but also making sure that that vote that will cast on that day will also be an emphasis of a greater change towards achieving the developments right here in the Republic. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor, of course, to ignite and empower citizens for a greener future, and embracing the fact that there is a need for this. As we come to the bottom line, so how sustainable do you think we are as a country? In this move, we are tree planting. Are we in a good height?
How sustainable? I can't measure how sustainable we are, but I believe there are steps that have already been taken. First of all, I'm sure that there are enough policies. I think we are beyond policy making at this particular point. If we now get out of those COP meetings that we've been having and now put the implementation, then we'll be on the right track. Then I would also say we'd also be in a better track if everyone is true to themselves. Integrity is a virtue that we all need to have. And integrity starts with you. We need to stop pointing fingers on people. How honest are you and transparent are you with whatever the undertakings that we have? As a country, I believe we have made significant steps from where we were, but I think also, let's not be very optimistic. There's so many things that need to be done. I don't think young people should be put on the sidelines in this. We need to be on the table when these discussions are done. In as much as inclusion and inclusivity is not a conversation for the other generation, inclusivity of youths, people with disabilities, women, and even young men. I am not also I believe empowered women needs also empowered boy-child, the boy-child conversation. And I think if all the stakeholders come together, and if this conversation of decentralizing the 15 billion agenda to even the lowest person, even that mama mboga, I think actually if we could have, if every Mazingira Day everyone is told to go and plant a tree, or when people in this in Christmas are going to Shago, they can be given trees to go and plant in the villages, we'd also be contributing towards that. It's very effective. So I think let's change the strategy. But as you're changing the strategy, make sure that the young people are the drivers. Remember, the youths are the highest population of this country. And so it means we have more opportunities to even impact the communities we come from. So for our country, I believe we are taking the right steps, but we can always do better towards making a sustainable economy and also achieve our 15 billion agenda by 2032.
Amazing. Why do you think we're not streamlining this in the best way possible, and what is the basic disadvantage you can mention as Mazingira Green Hub?
I think one disadvantage is that people lack information, proper information. There's something called communication disinformation and misinformation. People are very misinformed. People know we need to plant trees, but they don't know why we are planting trees. That is why for us, eco-education is a key thing that needs to be embraced. When we go to these schools, we make students actually do banners and tell us, why are you doing this? They make the issues themselves. And that is why I think CBE is a very good curriculum, because it actually breaks it down. In Mazingira Green Hub, we want to come up with a comprehensive curriculum on eco-education, a curriculum that can be able to be defined and redefined for different age groups. Ukienda kwa shosho na kwa mtoto na kijana na mtu mzee, like ikue something that it can be digested and broken down.
Amazing.
Let's not sit down here and start talking about deforestation and reforestation and use very big scientific words that people can't relate to. Let people see it in real life, and I think it starts with that awareness. And the same way we do civic education for voters, for people to vote, we need now to have eco-education, where you need to vote right for even eco-friendly and people who support environmental conservation activities. And I think, again, disinformation on issues like carbon credits. You've seen there's a documentary that was going around that people in some Maasai land, they were told about this carbon credits, and apparently it was their land being taken away from them. Imagine such a community. The Maa community heavily is a pastoralistic community. You come and tell them due to trade their land for these carbon credits and things like that. We really need to understand that our country, one of the things that makes Kenya unique is our cultural diversity. So we need to break down this communication even to the people and make them understand why we're even doing this tree growing, and don't go and remove their cultural practices. Actually realize that our culture, even our cultural practices, understood what nature was. That is why people used to know when this tree starts flowering, this is the season that's coming, this what. What about we empower these village men and women, our chiefs and our nyumba kumi, whatever, nyumba kumi headmen, those people at the grassroots, so that the conversation can be able to reach people. Let's not sit in these media stations, and okay, the media stations are good because it gets also to bigger people and things like that. I'm just saying, let's develop the organization from the boardroom to actually the ground, because the ground does not lie.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The ground doesn't lie.
Yeah.
We've been lied for quite some time. And so lie. That is stronger than I'd imagined, which ignites different changes when it comes now to understanding developments za kujaza miti. Pia usisahau bado kuna baridi. No? So definitely, how will we empower these young people to make sure that they have positive engagements, rather than spending more time in messes, but particular positive engagements that will enhance positive change. I know, of course, with Mazingira Green Hub, making sure that mbele iko sawa, even as we try educate these people, these young people, to invest in themselves. Tushughulike na vitu za maana sana. How will you help us as we queue out this session?
When you're talking about there's a budget, there's money. See, when people come to do this international conference, one sitting, people have hefty allowances. What if that money was actually injected in youth-led organizations, where that youth unaweza mlipata your 2,000, asikie like wow, at least nimefanya kitu, nimetokea nje, nipiga mboka na niko na kitu nimetoka nayo. Unajua what you're doing, you're creating opportunities other than only one. It's this thing of one man each society is the root of capitalism, is the reason why people are filled with so much greed. I think the moment, and I think Kenya is very like the biggest population is Christian. The moment we actually practice our Christian values and actually look after your brother is the other person, your neighbor, and things like that, we could be very far. But hii mambo ya kila mtu analilia pake, it's what is draining us.
Right.
And I think, and again I say also, if things continue the way they are, if we continue treating things normally, they will also treat us abnormally at some point.
To use that.
I wanted to say that one, like, if we continue treating this conversation normally on climate change, it will treat us abnormally. because hii mambo ya watu, unajua kuna some countries they have to shower in the middle of the day because the heat waves are real things. Kama mnataka itufikie, it's coming and it's coming very fast, but because it's good to learn from other people's experiences, let us do what needs to be done.
Thank you. With only 1 minute, I'd like you now to embrace this. We've dealt about collaborating with citizens and the country and the government. We've seen about the sustainable developments. We've seen what are some of the approaches that organizations can take in establishing these conversations. And also we've just taken a reflection on how positive tree planting is to citizens and to a particular engagement. As we come to the close now, I'd really like you to look at your camera with a lot of intentionality. And there are people that up to this moment bado waja realign, wajaona ni kama history ina make sense. As Green Hub and also as an expertise in stories and environmental stewardship, I'd like you to raise a voice in 1 minute, then we'll get the clear response in all this. So this is now part of the advocacy. Waambie kitu. Then also as you tell them, please share with them how can we get in touch, your social media handles as well.
Okay. Dear Kenyans, this conversation on tree growing is about you. It's about me. It's about us. If we don't come together, we are going to suffer from the adverse conditions of climate change. We are not planting trees to just tick another box. We are doing it for our generationals, our
Amazing. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Joyce, for coming. And we are hoping for the best in Mazingira Green Hub. And of course, we'll be able to share the light in the best way possible. Asante sana for coming. All right. So, Jazamiti, ladies and gentlemen, tuendelee na story. And of course, we make sure that the impact is seen and known. Of course, the government strategizes, and also the country or the citizen are also strategizing. Environmental stewards to the world. See you next time. My name is Moskich, and of course we joined in by Joyce, and we've had a conversation. Asante sana Faith Matoli, asante sana King Dantimax, asante sana Kamefe, also Thomas, thank you so much for those good job that you're doing out there. And of course we embrace Jazamiti. My name is Moskich. See you next time.